am on a whole nother level. Girl, he only fucked you over cause you let him. Girl, I guess he didn't know any better. Girl, that man didn't show any ever. Do all I can just to show
that you are. How relevant is age in governance?
I think it's important to not make it an age issue, because we've had very young politicians in this country that are not responsible, and we've had old people who are also irresponsible. But it's not about the age of persons now, but the age of ideas. And our problem has been that the age of ideas has destroyed this country. And most people who have old ideas are definitely old people who have been around for almost 58 years in Nigeria now. And it is time to show them the way out of this country, to show them the way out of governance, so that this country can enjoy fresh ideas, freshness of life, people with character, integrity, people with capability, competence, and stamina, because Nigeria needs us. Nigeria doesn't. I hate to say this. I don't like when the media says to Nigerians that it's hard choice to make. What is hard between choosing a Sowore, 47 years old with exposure, education, who is strong, who's got character, integrity, someone who's got experience as well, history behind him, and old people who have destroyed this country over the years, who you can tell how they run. This is Nigeria of their dream. This is Nigeria that's broken with no roads, no hospitals, no water to drink. How is it hard to choose between us, those of us who are young, who have got a lot to offer, and those who have expired and who have nothing to offer?
All right, let's take it to our other guest in Abuja studio. He's a presidential candidate of the Young Progressive Party, YPP, Kinglsly Mogalu. Obviously, it won't make sense to actually ask you that same question as to how age really should play out in how Nigerians decide who should lead them come 2019. Your party is named Young Progressive Party, Kinglsly Mogalu.
And if my figures are right, Kinglsly is 55 years old.
Absolutely.
Older
than Sowore. Yes, Kinglsly Mogalu, what has age got to do with it, really?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. I think there are two things we need to know about age in Nigerian politics. The problem with a lot of the old recycled political class is not necessarily their age, but the age of their ideas. That's number one. The second problem is that they have nothing much to show for their age in terms of their impact on the Nigerian condition. Nigerians are far poorer today than they were when Nigeria became independent in 1960. So we can see very clearly that the older recycled politicians have done a very bad service to Nigeria, and that's why we're saying that there's need for younger, more visionary leaders. But I don't believe that people are qualified to be president of Nigeria simply because they are young. I think it's very important that people have the necessary experience, that people have the necessary character, that people have the necessary compassion for the people of Nigeria. I, for example, have worked for the United Nations for 17 years. I've been a deputy governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria. I've been a professor in one of the world's most prestigious universities. So my claim to what I am aspiring to is that I have much to offer my country. And it's not just based on my age. However, the problem we have in Nigeria as well is that every society must be regenerated in terms of its leadership, and that's not happening in Nigeria. Nigeria has been held hostage by old men and women for far too long, who have nothing to show for their age. That's the real point.
I beg you now, Omoyele Sowore na be the man.
It's all right.
Forget all this one talk.
It's interesting, really, to know that both of you seem to be on the same page as regards the relevance of age.
Yeah.
But then you have said severally that you would never be part of a coalition. There's the coalition of united political parties. There's the presidential aspirants coming together, which initially was highly rumored that you were part of, but you came out publicly to say you have nothing to do about it. Nigerians are concerned about when we have bright ideas staggered. There are 91 parties.
It makes it tougher for them to decide.
What is wrong in coming together?
I want to correct the impression that I said I don't want to be part of coalitions. In fact, when I started by talking about coalitions. But I do not want to be part of coalitions that don't have clarity, that don't understand where they are going, or don't have a central agenda to wrestle power. Because it's not everybody who is running for office today in Nigeria that's doing it for the purpose for which I'm in it for. And it includes that some of them are fronts. And when I met some of these young people, what I said to them is that before we form a coalition, let's weed out those who are serious and those who are not serious. And let us go for primaries in our respective parties, come back and have a coalition. And I was surprised that Kinglsly fell for the initial plan. Actually, I have a lot of respect for Kinglsly, but he went and joined PACT, and eventually he signed an MOU with them, and he lost. And when he discovered that he had lost to these guys because they played him, he bailed out of it. I didn't need to do that. The kind of coalition I wanted is the coalition that I have. And that is a coalition of Nigerians who are disenchanted, who are dissatisfied, who don't want to have anything to do with the past, who want to have a clean break from the past and move forward. So let me say it to you that we will still eventually come together. Okay. As a matter of fact, I'm saying it that, there will be a separation of men from boys and eventually of men from old men in this country. That's where we are headed. And I'm happy that we're starting to see that. So many of the presidential aspirants who started with us are no longer there because they couldn't become candidates. Now we have a narrower pool of people to pull from, to choose from, and that's where I'm at. And I'll say to you once again, and it's important for Nigerians to understand that there is nothing there to look at when you're talking about the people that converged at Obasanjo's house yesterday. Obasanjo has been such a bad human resources manager for this country, chosen the worst presidential candidates for this country. One was sick and dead for 5 months. One of them didn't even know where his PhD certificate was. And Obasanjo is always there to gang up against the progress of this country, starting from his days.
Those are very strong allegations, because Obasanjo would actually say that he's one of the most patriotic Nigerians. What you're saying, in other words, what you're saying is that you're not moved by that endorsement of
I'm not moved by it, but
former
we have
Vice
to start
President
speaking truth to power. Obasanjo is not, you should stop lying to people that he's a patriotic person on the media. And I'm not accusing you guys of doing it, but it's time for the media to also take a stand on the side of Nigerian people. Obasanjo is not patriotic. Babangida is not patriotic. The pastors and imams that met yesterday to reimpose on Nigeria a bribe taker.
We'll rather stay with
they are not patriotic people.
We will definitely come back to that because Kinglsly Mogalu is there in Abuja. Kinglsly Mogalu, yes, former CBN governor. You have been to one of the most prestigious institutions in the world, the Fletcher School of Law. You're a professor of practice and all of that. But do you think Nigerians are discerning enough or desperate enough to actually be able to say, look, we want a clean break from what you might describe as the past, and we want a future that has a definite direction, a future that can actually take us to the promised land? And people will say, yes, Kinglsly Mogalu, but we don't even know his party, YPP. What can you really do right now to sell not just your idea, of course Sowore is here to do that, and to actually convince Nigerians that you are the man for the job?
Well, thank you very much, Ngozi. There are three things that Nigeria needs today. Nigeria needs a leader who can, heal Nigeria and build a nation. Nigeria is not a nation, it's a country. Nigeria needs a leader who can wage a successful and decisive war against poverty. And Nigeria needs a leader who can restore Nigeria's standing in the world.
Yes, Nigerians know what they need, but right now, Nigerians want to hear clearly the how. Yeah. We know what the problems are, but how?
That's what I'm saying.
The how is what Nigerians are interested in now. Yes.
Ngozi, I will contest your statement that Nigerians know what they need. If Nigerians knew what they needed, they would not be entertaining the antics and the deceit of the APC and the PDP. So I would argue with you that your statement is not correct. Nigerians are not very sure what they need. Many people know that the political class has failed, but do not have the courage to move forward. So what I am doing is this: selling my message of hope, my new vision for Nigeria, my vision for economic transformation, my vision for nation building, and my vision for diplomatic resurgence of the Nigerian state. So I am telling Nigerians, look, here's how we can move away from poverty. Here's how we can create jobs. Very concrete ideas. I propose to establish skills training centers in each of the 774 local government areas of Nigeria. I propose, as President of Nigeria, to set up a 1 trillion naira venture capital fund that will invest in new businesses to be started by millions of unemployed young men and women. This is how this country will grow economically. I propose that innovation will be the centerpiece of Nigeria's economy. So I have very clear plans and very clear ideas.
Excellent, right. Now, back to our Lagos studio very quickly. Omoyele Sowore, let's get a bit close and personal. Human rights activist, pro-democracy campaigner, founder of Sahara Reporters. Many even said that, that online platform played a critical role in shaping opinions in 2015, and even, if I can be a bit bolder, helped the incumbent to win the election. Divided opinions as regards that. But what really are you bringing to the table? We've heard the story of how at 12 years old you learned how to ride a bicycle to fish for the family. How have these things shaped you to become, perhaps a president?
Yes. So I have, of all the candidates, I have the longest history of engaging with Nigerian people, doing what is right when it's difficult to do it. I started at the University of Lagos in 1989, fighting along others like Gani Faweme, Wole Soyinka in this country, Femi Falana, to restore democracy tonight. So the democracy we are enjoying today in Nigeria was as a result of sweat and pain and blood of people like me, not me alone. And that was when I was 21 years old. I was behind Abiola fighting to de-annul the June 12th election. After the annulment went through successfully with the military, we eventually kicked them out in 1999. So I want to remind you that this is not the first time I'm doing this. It's not 2015, but it's understandable that some people did not get to the internet until 2014. So they wouldn't have understood that I also fought against third term when Obasanjo was trying to become a Mugabe in Nigeria, and that I fought against the Yar'Adua cabal when Goodluck Jonathan was prevented from becoming the president, which was his rightful constitutional right at that time. They also forgot that I fought corruption in this country by exposing corruption at all levels in the last 12 years that I started Sahara Reporters. But most importantly, that I'm an entrepreneur, that also I'm a lecturer, a professor that taught for 8 years at the university in New York, and also that I attended one of the best universities in the world, one of the 10 best universities in the US, Columbia University, where I studied master in public administration. So I'm the first person who's going to be president of Nigeria who actually has a public admin knowledge.
So how will all of this bring to bear in terms of the deliverables come 2019? Do you understand the economy enough?
I'm giving you the insurance.
What do you even think is the most fundamental problem that Nigeria faces today in such a way that you can begin to...
When you're assuming that we're facing just one, we face 10. And in solving the problem, you must solve all the 10, start at, with the 10 at the same time.
Yeah.
First is security. Of course, nobody is secure in this country today. Second is the fact that we're all in darkness. We don't have electricity, power. And without that, what Kinglsly is proposing will not happen. You cannot have skill acquisition centers if you don't have electricity. You can't have skill acquisition centers if you don't have infrastructure. You can't have progress and end poverty when farmers can't take their goods from where they are grown to the market where they need to sell them. So infrastructure is key for us. We will fight corruption, which everybody knows I know how to do very well. In fact, I do it better as an individual than the entire government of Buhari has ever done. I know how to create an economic system that will make people prosper, because economy that they are talking about is not the kind of political economy that empower people. It's the economy of World Bank, prescription. And World Bank came out 3 days ago and said they are sorry. They have been leading Nigeria in the wrong direction. And instead of investing in health and education, they asked you to invest in other things that will help companies that are coming from the West. But I have done it. So far, we were the first in this country when we were in our 20s fighting against the World Bank. You have heard about the anti-SAP protests in the early 90s.
Yes.
We were saying that education was more important and health was more important, because without health you can't have prosperity, you can't have production, and you can't grow the economy. The World Bank just accepted that, but we're not going to get the Nobel Prize for it. And what I'm telling you, to remind you again, is that you ask. and I'll answer very quickly. What do I know better than all these people? What do I have to bring to the table? What I gave you in terms of my background is the insurance that whatever I'm promising you in our manifesto, which we call Spicer Hit, will be delivered without any inhibition.
It's all right.
Because there's courage and there's integrity and pedigree to do it.
God will bless you, Omoyele Sowore.
Issues now. You are
will
a
bless you.
political
That's the man here, man.
lawyer. You mentioned earlier that you work with the United Nations, a professor in international business. And
See the truth and the darkness, the lies, the people that they are lying to you. Someone is telling you the truth with passion.
Is impossible without power. What are the top priorities for you as a candidate?
Electric power in Nigeria is a top priority for me, and here's my plan for power, because I prefer to go into specifics. I have a plan, and for the power sector, the first thing we need to do is to decentralize the national grid. The second thing that we will do is to move the production of hydroelectric power from Kainji Dam and gas-powered electricity to shift it to industrial centers in this country as a priority. Places like Lagos and Ogun State, places like Kano, places like Aba, places like Onitsha and Nnewi. These places will get 24-hour electricity supply, and the implication of that is that the prices of all things produced will crash very significantly. 40% of the prices of goods produced in Nigeria is electricity generation cost. So if we bring it down, we reduce price. That will affect the poor Nigeria very positively. Then my government is going to establish a new market for renewable energy, solar energy, wind energy. So this is how we are going to be going for homes and not just normal offices, but for industrial production. We will move hydroelectric electricity to those places. So this is my vision. Today in Nigeria, our children just cram their books, notebooks, and regurgitate it in exams.
That's all right.
That does not encourage original thinking. So we're going to change. As a professor in the United States, my 100% is divided as follows: 60% for your original research paper, 20% for your ability to discuss in class and lead discussions, and 20% for your physical presence.
It's all right.
And then the fourth reform is that we are going to focus on educational infrastructure. Every child in Nigeria under my presidency will have, at a minimum, a laptop in secondary schools and in universities.
We'll be back with you, Kinglsly. Because of time, let me come to Sowore very quickly. We appear to have two professors here. There's the issue of diversifying the economy from an oil-based one. In the early days of independence, we were so rich in agriculture. What are your thoughts in this line? What are the actionable plans you have for Nigeria?
You must have heard about the controversy that started with my proposal to export cannabis. And a few days after that, Coca-Cola signed a $4 billion deal with Aurora, a company that is researching and growing cannabis. And South Africa legalized cannabis. And the whole of the world is now in the business. Canada is already 70% short of what they need. I'm just saying that not to scare people, but to tell you that even many of these ideas that Kinglsly is talking about is already embedded in our Spicer Hit documentation regarding education and health and diversification of economies. To look at this country, you have arable land, but the problem is that most of our farmers grow crops and 90% of them are destroyed because we don't have storage for them and they can't take them from the places of production to the market. So we are not in the game. The Chinese people are making more money out of Nigeria in agriculture than we are doing because they have post-harvest processing. They can take your pepper and ginger from here to China, whereas our farmers don't have those opportunities.
Yeah, but do we even really have farmers? I mean, young people are not attracted to farming.
We have farmers. We have farmers, but we don't have a government in this country. We have farmers, we have teachers.
It's a huge indictment.
It is a huge indictment, but it's the truth.
The last time I checked, there's a federal government.
Nigeria is failing. And earlier we admit that we don't have a government so that we can put the right people there, the better. What they are doing around here that they call government is papering over cracks, is experimentation with social issues, experimentation with ideas and programs and projects.
Yes,
you can see even in Lagos that's going to be the best. There's no road between here and Badagry.
So we get that point. But very quickly, before I take it to Kinglsly Mogalu in Abuja studio.